We are leaking the next pack fully within this video, and the next pack's coming in less than 2 weeks. I know a lot of you are thinking, what the heck, I have no gems after spending it on Bonfire, which just came out. Well, that's the case right now. The new pack is coming out April 11th. And why am I leaking everything right now? Well, through data mining the Nintendo Switch. If you hack the Nintendo Switch, you have access to the next pack. I didn't do that myself, but that's something that Konami may want to fix. It doesn't happen with PlayStation, not the Xbox, and I think that's similarly to what happened with the Ninja Structure deck being leaked early, thanks to Nintendo Switch. But what's not on the Nintendo Switch is the May pack. So May pack leaks will be starting, I believe, on next week. Yes, April 7th, twitch.tv/Dcade. Make sure you show up and we'll start leaking the pack for May. Now, without further ado, boom. Rescue Ace is coming in the next pack, and I'm going to show you why this is a massive deal, why a card may get pre-hit. But first, if you could support my sponsor by watching it and clicking on my links, I'd greatly appreciate that. Let's go. Anywhere you go, magic follows. That's right, the magic land of AFK Journey is available now on mobile and PC, available through the AFK Journey official website, and it's free to play. Embark on a fantasy quest as Marlin, gathering heroes across 6 factions to then formulate winning tactics across many different teams. Reunite with AFK Arena's amazing characters and discover brand new ones. Master battlefield strategies to conquer each challenge. A Hex battle map allows players to assemble their lineup for the perfect strategic experience. You'll explore diverse maps, solve fun puzzles, and meet interesting NPCs, all with one-handed gameplay. AFK Journey is not just an idle game, it has a massive open world for you to explore. If you're familiar with AFK Arena's resonance system, AFK Journey introduces resonance with equipment. In AFK Journey, your resources grow while you sleep. There's also unique and interesting character customizations to allow you to play the way you want. During AFK Journey's official release, you get all of the heroes for free. You'll also get 200 plus pulls for free by playing through the game and completing events like the 7-day login. So what are you waiting for? Download AFK Journey today through my link down below and use my code AFKJourney88 to get 100 diamonds and tons of golden coins. I'll see you in game. Welcome back. Now let's talk about Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace Emergency and Preventer. These 2 cards alone break the deck. And because the deck was so broken, in the TCG they had to limit the airlifter to 1, also semi-limit in OCG, and then in the OCG they had to limit the emergency to 1. We look at the tier list within the date ranges of when the deck was most relevant. This is after Diablo Star's release and before the deck got nerfed. This is within tier 3 events only. So the YCS tournaments, it was a top deck. If we switch on over to everything else, let's click search so it applies the filter here. It is still the most dominant among regional and YCSs combined. But what about the OCG? Same deal, the most dominant deck at the absolute top within the time range of when the Diablo Star came out and before the deck got nerfed. Now, why are these cards so freaking good? The emergency is essentially a search. You special summon a Rescue Ace from your deck onto the field, and then you have to tribute a Rescue Ace from your hand or field. And that may sound bad because you have to tribute a Rescue Ace, right? Well, you turn that downside into an upside when you start using it to dodge disruption like impermanence. Let's say you want to activate your Turbulence to set a bunch of back row cards, which is the main play of the deck. They activate Imperm or Veiler. Well, you chain Emergency and then summon from the deck another Rescue Ace, then send the Turbulence to the grave, thus dodging cards like impermanence. So it adds so much more consistency to the deck and also a lot of interaction and counterplay. I love it. And then Preventer is also crazy good. It's very easily summoned by just banishing 1 Rescue Ace, and then it has the quick effect of flipping a monster the opponent controls face down whenever you want. And then the combos you do on your turn 1, which makes this even more nuts, is when this card is sent to the graveyard, it doesn't miss the timing, which most cards these days don't really miss the timing anymore, but you send it to the grave through linking. However, it does not matter. You're then going to target a banished Rescue Ace, could be the card that you banished, to summon this, and then you get to special summon it on the field. So there are a ton of combos where you get the Preventer out, and then you just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, set up all of your links. Now, we're probably going to have a different extra deck than what is being shown here. And what we could see here is when Airlifter was at 3 in the TCG, what the deck was looking like. So we look at a YCS second place deck. This is what the deck looks like at full power. And as you see, the Airlifter is now limited to 1. The problem with this deck being the most dominant when the Airlifter was at 3 in the TCG is that they did not have Bonfire. They also did not have Poplar. So the deck can now play Poplar, grab the Snake Eye Original Sinful, Bonfire for even more consistency. This is crazy, but I guess it's also worth noting that Snake Eyes didn't exist, so is this deck as good as Snake Eyes? Well, if it weren't as good, if it weren't better than Snake Eyes, then I would assume that the Lifter and Emergency wouldn't have to be hit, right? Well, I guess we just take that for what that is, and we're going to have to find out when it comes out in Master Duel. Now, let's hop into some more leaks. We have, boom, Monadium leaks. Well, finally, for the 20th time, Monadium is going to be getting more support, but this time it should be at full power through the Samsara. Samsara is here. Samsara is a level 4 tuner that special summons itself onto the fields. And what's good about that is in the TCG, there's no Max C. But if we switch on over to OCG, it's a different story. They're not really liking Samsara that much. In fact, they're not really liking Monadium as a whole. And is it because of Max C itself? Possibly. So as you can see, we still have some tournament deck lists here where the Samsara is being used in the OCG. You could screenshot, pause, whatever you want. We switch on over to TCG, as you saw from the analytics above. They are loving it. Even got second place of a relatively small YCS. What was that? Santa Cruz, but still a great accomplishment there. Samsara. Get Samsara in all the way. So do get excited for that. And also Vita. What is Vita? Vita is some Vsauce lore stuff. So do expect some Vita support, something like Realm Eulogy. While it's not on the main analytics because it's rarely used, it's at 3%. So the main deck analytics will not show it, but here we could see 3% are liking this at 1. YCS top and deck even used it. So I'm not going to really go too far into what this card does because we have a lot more to get leak into, which will now be Evolzar Lars. What is this? Well, it's good enough to be receiving a new animation in the next pack. This is any 2 level 6 monsters. So I'm thinking, what's a good deck with level 6 monsters? Could any deck play this? Level 6, rank 6, let's do main deck, for example. You know, you could use Synchros if you want. But, oh, okay. Could we put this in Unchained, possibly? Well, let's see what's actually being played in. It's only being played in Ogdoadic, Dinos, and Virtual World. What about OCG? Dinos, Ogdoadic, Valence, Horus, Dinomorphia, and Nemrulia. So what does this do? The opponent activates a card or effect. You then detach 2 materials from this card, or just 1 material if all of the card's materials are reptile and or dinosaur. Then target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. So a card like this is competing in, for example, the Unchained deck. You would have to choose between that or Caesar. And Caesar, whoops, what is this? Okay, there we go. Caesar, I believe, is much better because it has that double negate where this will only be able to negate once, but since we're not using reptile and or dinosaur. But still, it has a YCS top. If we go on over to Dinos, it is popularly being used. And here is a YCS. Oh, I zoomed in too far. This YCS right here, top 32, 700 players plus, YCS Cancun. And we got the Lars right there in the extra deck for some Dino action. So be excited for Dino support YCS top-in. Let's move on to another card. We have Nightmare Magician. What is this? If this card battles a monster, neither monster can be destroyed by that battle. Okay. Now, at the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you get to take control of that opponent's monster without targeting it. And because it's going to be at the end of the damage step, a lot of cards cannot be activated within that window, not even a card like Chalice. We also have once per turn at the start of the damage step. This is where Chalice could be used. If another monster attacks, you could then destroy 1 card on the field. This card, again, is going to have an animation. So this will have an animation. Lars will have an animation. This is actually being used in Chimera. So if we look at Chimera, I believe one of the fusions have a way to summon it. I think it's this one. you get to, during your opponent's turn, banish this card from the graveyard, target one of your banished illusion monsters, and the other type special summon it. But this one will target in your grave. So you get to target an illusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So this will summon in grave, this will summon the banished, and that is going to be the way to special summon your Nightmare Magician onto the field. Now, speaking of Chimera, why are we looking at Chimera? Because Chimera is coming. Let me move this on over here. Now, Chimera is a deck type that a ton of people are excited for. I haven't played this deck myself, but I played against it a bunch to know that the Sword Knight and the Codal are annoying. While they're in the graveyard, they have the ability to do some negating. This states that when a monster your opponent controls activates its effect while this card is in the graveyard, you get to negate that effect. It also works while on the field. And then we have Codal. Codal says if the opponent decides to target any card you control while you control a Chimera while this card is on the field or graveyard, negate that effect. So these two negates being in the graveyard were incredibly annoying for me to deal with when playing against Chimera. The deck is mostly being used with Branded Fusion, but, well, first, as you can see, YCS tops out the wazoo, regionals, it's topping, it's winning, but OCG is not using Branded Fusion because it's limited to one. So we may not want to get used to the branded way to play this because OCG is going to be more closely what we decide to do is what I'm thinking. They do have some new cards that we should not expect, like the Diabels and the Nightmare Apprentice, which does make the deck a lot more consistent. So maybe we're going to have to wait for this to be top tier. If we scroll on down here, we could see it is using the deck to look like this. So, you know, I'll scroll through. Oh, gosh, they're being toxic. Oh, no. What is this? They're actually summoning a barrier statue. No monsters can be special summoned except for dark monsters. I was watching a combo where they send this from the deck to the graveyard through one of these monsters. I think it's this one. Yeah. If this card is fusion summoned, you'll send the barrier from your deck to the graveyard, and then you're going to use this Chimera to reborn it from the grave. So, wow, a Floodgate deck is going to be the way to play it in Master Duel. That is what it's looking like. But beyond that, I have a nice little short video. It's a YouTube short from El Exordio del Duelista. They're going to show how one card turns into 2 disruptions, a hand rip, and 1 draw. So let's see that real quick. And you're not going to be able to hear the volume, just me. So through the Codal, get the Sword Knight on the field, tribute itself, summon from the deck, a Chimera, which will then search, and then we're going to be using the fusion to make the hand rip one. And then a bunch of cards are triggering here. I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly what's going on. We have a hand rip. We have Guardian Chimera setup. That's going to be pop 2 plus draw 1. And then we have the Sword Knight negate. And it doesn't say here, but we also have the Codal negate if they decide to target a card we control. And let's see what happens. They're going to start off with the Beaver, negate a monster on the field, or negate the effect if they activate it. And then we got the blue activating on the resolution. We're going to be making that Chimera. Pop 2, draw 1. We also ripped a card out of their hand. Looks like we're setting up with that follow-up. We got the kit. We got the Chimera Fusion. Very nice. What am I doing here? Oh, my gosh, 1.5 million views. What else is there to say about Chimera? I guess just get excited for the deck. I'm excited to learn it. I'm actually going to put effort into learning it. But, you know, we can't do it with the Dragoon. Dragoon's probably not going to get unbanned anytime soon. And the Branded Fusion's going to stay limited to 1. So Pure is going to be the way to do it. Now, let's move on to Altergeist. If you quickly saw that as I was fumbling through the things, this is a deck. It is no YCS tops, but let's see what's good here. Is it even using the new cards? I think that is the issue. The new cards came out, as we can see here, Altergeist, Adminia, Altergeist, Paratrader, and the Malwisp. So the Adaminia looks like it is, in fact, being used in 100% of the Altergeist deck lists. What about the other cards? I don't... oh, we have the Malwisp here. Okay. Now, I won my own tournament with playing Altergeist close to the release of Master Duel. So I am very much excited for Altergeist, despite it not topping any YCSs. If this card is link summoned, you can grab an Altergeist trap directly from your deck and set it. Now, that right there means you can't ash this. No ash on the effect. That is beautiful. It is a link 4. While this card is face up on the field during the main phase, you could send one card you control to the graveyard, then target one effect monster your opponent controls. That is a quick effect during the main. You get to take control of the opponent's monster and then treat it as an Altergeist. That is pretty cool. So set any trap from the deck where you can't ash the effect, and then steal a monster from the opponent, which it is a targeting effect to do that, unfortunately. Now, what is the Malwisp? What's so good about this? This card is added to your hand, except by drawing it, you could special summon it. If this card is summoned, you could target an Altergeist in your graveyard, special summon it, and then you cannot activate its effects. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And I guess the fire one's not the red one's not worth reading because it's not in the tournament top index here. As you can see here, top 8 of 2 different regionals. Uh-oh, skill drain. That's not good to see. What about here? This is not playing skill drain. What is that trap? What the heck? The Ledger Book. Target up to 2 monsters your opponent controls, banish them until the end of the turn. Then your opponent gains 1,000 for each monster that left the field by this effect. I have to look into what's good with this. That is quite interesting. We love it so much for playing 3. Okay. I can't wait for Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta to release, and then there's comments explaining why that's even a thing. What the heck? Let's move on to another leak. We have, boom, your Sarctic. Now, these have already been released, but these two, the Polar Star and the Ultimate Bright Knight, your Saratron Alpha. I'm not going to begin to try to pretend like I know how this deck works. I have no idea. It's something, a synchroing into a level 1, which makes no freaking sense because what? How? How do you do that? Well, let's at least read this card and let's pretend like it's regularly summoned. This, and by the way, it's not topping any tournaments, not even OCG locals, no regionals, no YCSs, but that's okay. We can have fun in Master Duel. The difference in TCG and OCG is you can only really join a weekly tournament once a week. So you have to choose one deck, 1 week, and you have to invest sometimes a lot of money into those decks. But with Master Duel, it's not that as expensive, and you could switch your deck on the fly willy-nilly. It's not a big deal. So that is one of the big reasons why I do like Master Duel a lot more than the physical card game. But let's hop into this effect real quick. This is summon, you special summon from your extra deck by sending 2 cards control with a level difference of 1 to the graveyard, a tuner and a non-tuner. Okay. You tribute 1 level 8 your Sarctic from your hand or field and this card to then special summon 1 level 7 your Sarctic Synchro from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. And if you do, it gains this effect. Your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with a level that were special. Oh my gosh, it's a floodgate. Okay. Yay, floodgates. Straight up continuous effect. Monsters with a level that were summoned from the extra deck cannot activate. That is interesting. Okay, very nice. Your Sarctic, that's going to be something that we want to maybe look into if you like floodgates. Well, what is up next? Purely. This is another powerhouse deck. If we go on back to where I showed you Rescue Ace dominating, Purely was also dominating alongside Rescue Ace. They were mortal rivals, back and forth, doing really well in multiple different tournaments. And that is due to a new card. That new card being the E Purely Nor. I zoomed in too much. E Purely Nor becomes the new main 1-card starter play. It's going to be the new way. So, for example, let's say you have a Sleepy Memory plus an Impermanence. Those are the only 2 cards in your hand for some reason. You Sleepy Memory, discard Impermanence because we don't care. Special summon a Lily from the deck. Lily, grab a My Friend Purely. My Friend Purely, grab any quick play spell. Ideally, it could be another Sleepy Memory, which this card's at 3 in the TC. As you can see, look, look, it's at 1 in OCG, semi-limited in OCG. That's why this card is so good. So anyway, let's say we get lucky and grab our 2nd copy. Now, at the Lily, we're going to target the Sleepy, which was the only quick play spell that could not turn into an Xyz, and you're going to see why this is so good. The Lily turns into the E Purely Nor, and then you activate any quick play spell from your hand, which would be the memory that we added. Then we're going to chain the Nor to the memory, equip onto the Nor. Then the Nor is also on the resolution of equipping, is going to be Purely Leapin'. We're going to set this from the deck. That is absolutely incredible. That is a super consistent way due to we can't get the plump out as consistently. The delicious memory is limited to 1, and that was our way to get the X purely Nor. So instead, we now do it through the E purely Nor. E purely Nor being the main way to go into X purely Nor, that makes sense to me. So this will also be triggering the effect of Sleepy Memory to draw multiple cards. So if we have 2 attached to the E purely Nor, we'll draw 2 in the opponent's standby phase, purely leap over it into the X purely Nor, then draw 2 more cards in addition to that, all from a 2-card combo, draw 4 and get spinning. That is nuts. But because Kurikara is searchable with Snake Eyes, we maybe want to be careful with that effect and not do that as freely. Maybe just draw with the E purely Nor and then just make the X purely Nor. But even with my combo I just described, we wouldn't even have 5 materials under the X purely Nor. You need a bit more cards in your hand, which you'll consistently do. So I am excited for this. I am a purely enjoyer. Let's switch on over to OCG. As you can see, the limits are different than the TCG. 1, 2, 2. They got the Pot of P also limited, which restricts a lot of decks. And what the heck? Main deck and Dimensional Fissure. This is probably what we're going to have to resort to in a Snake Eyes meta. Snake Eyes being the way to play the top deck, especially with Bonfire. Let's just defissure them out and even play Dimension Shifter. Oh boy, I hope no one's upset for me showing you this deck list, but that's just how it be. They, you know, they got to resort to extreme measures. And how's the TCG looking here? Wait, playing it with Sprite? I don't know about this. What the heck? This is actually recent. Well, I have some homework to look into, and you now have access to those deck lists too, so good job. Let's hop into another leak. The other leak is going to be Makanko. What the heck is Makanko getting? A lot of you really hate this deck. It's all about killing you, going second. Well, they just got a card that makes it a lot easier to kill you while going second, but it will happen on your next turn. And that is the Makanko Spirit Walk. Think if you have ever barely survived against Makanko, and now forget that because it won't ever happen again. They normally, with the Makanko, Hugh Lee will search for the rivalry. That's if they're going first. But if they're going second, the Hugh Lee will instead be searching for the Spirit Walk. And what the Spirit Walk will do after they give you a Kaiju or let's say a Lava Golem, you're going to then target the Kaiju that was given to you. They're going to target yours because they gave it to you. Let's pretend you're not the Makanko player, right? And what happens is they're going to equip that monster they gave you onto one of their Makanko monsters after you barely survived a Makanko turn. And then, with you having 500 to 1,000 life points left, you're now depleted to 0 because you get inflicted 500 damage for each equipped card you control, which will generally be probably at least 2. And now, for the final leak among many, many leaks. Oh, wait, let's show you a deck list here for Makanko first. We have, here is a Japanese deck list, playing some Infernoble. Oh my gosh. And then, yeah, okay, the Spirit Walk's being used in multiple different decks here, even Voiceless Voice, what the? Here is another one. Let's actually go to a YCS topping deck, yes? We have, okay, all the way down here. Yup. Down here, they in fact were topping, and unfortunately, that was with I Sold. So I Sold is no longer allowed in the TCG, but it's still allowed in Master Duel, so make sure you use and abuse that. That is going to be a good time. Now, for the final leak, it is Gaia Prominence, the Fierce Force. This, not very good, but we should at least read it, right? Let's give it a chance because, again, we're Master Duel. We don't have to pick one deck a week. We have all the time in the world to have fun and, you know, get animeing. When your opponent, let's pretend like it's easily summoned. It probably isn't. But if we easily summon this and your opponent activates a monster effect in their hand or graveyard, not the field, you discard a card, discard a monster, negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. Hand or graveyard activation. If we got to cope here. We got to go to Master Duel meta. Let's see. Snake Eyes. Okay. Hand. The Poplar activates in the hand. All right. Negate. The Diablo Star does not activate in the hand. It does activate in the graveyard during your turn, which you're not going to care too much probably about that. But the Flameburst, negate the Flameburst effect in the graveyard. Negate the Promethean Princess effect in the graveyard. That could be good. Negate the Amble Whale in the graveyard. They'll probably Chainlink block the Flameburst, but if they don't, we got that negate. So, okay, maybe this guy has got something here. Also, probably not. When this card destroys a monster by battle, and it has to be attacking itself, so they can't attack into you. You could target one fire monster in your graveyard, which I don't know. Why do they have to clarify that this has to be attacking? Why can't it just say, when this card destroys a monster by battle? Would this have been the thing that would just break this card and make it meta, top tier, tier 0? Do they really have to add this restriction? Anyway, you could target a fire monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and then that's it. Okay. Wow. We could make this work. I'm sure of it. I'm gonna make it my goal. I promise you. Well, actually, I'm not. But one of you promise me you'll make this work. All right. And I believe that's it. Thank you very much. I'll see you on twitch.tv/Decade on next Sunday, where we're going to start leaking the May pack. I appreciate you all very much. We also, within that week, like four days later, we're then going to have the new pack. Then we're going to have a tournament with the new pack. So we have a good, wow, next week is really, yeah, this is all coming next week. I can't believe so much is happening. Wow, 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 wow. April 7th, and then a few days later, this new pack. As we said, it's less than 2 weeks, so it would be a week and a half. That's exactly when it is. So I'm not done rambling. It's really late at night. I just want to get this video out before I go to bed. So thank you very much. We are out. Goodbye.